Look around you. Some people wake up every morning and immediately feel the weight of the world pressing down on them. Before the day even begins, the mind is already whispering, "You are not enough. Things will go wrong. You are going to fail." And they believe it. Every single word. Others wake up to the same kind of life. The same problems. The same uncertainties. The same imperfect world. And yet something inside them is different. Something quieter. Something stronger. What do they know that others do not? It is not that they never have negative thoughts. Every human mind produces them. It is not that their life is easier or their problems are smaller. It is something far more powerful than that. They have learned how to end negative thinking. Not by fighting it. Not by pretending it is not there. But by understanding it so deeply that it loses its power over them forever. In this video, you will discover 8 powerful secrets that will help you end negative thinking forever and take back complete control of your mind. So stay with me till the end. Because secret number 5 alone will completely change the way you see your own thoughts. Secret 1. Negative thinking is not who you are. It is what you learned. Most people believe that their negative thoughts are simply part of who they are. That they were born this way. That this is just their personality. That some people are naturally positive and others are naturally negative and there is nothing to be done about it. But this is not true. Negative thinking is not your identity. It is a habit. And like every habit, it was learned. And like every habit, it can be unlearned. Think about where your negative thoughts come from. They did not appear out of nowhere. They were shaped by years of experience. By words people said to you when you were young. By failures that taught your mind it was safer to expect the worst. By environments that showed you the world as a dangerous and disappointing place. Your mind learned negativity to protect you. It was trying to keep you safe. To prepare you for pain before it arrived. To make sure you were never caught off guard. But somewhere along the way, the protection became the prison. The wisest people understand this. They do not blame themselves for their negative thoughts. They do not feel shame or weakness for having them. They simply recognize them for what they are. Old learned patterns. Old stories. Old protection systems that no longer serve them. And that recognition is where everything begins to change. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. And the moment you truly understand that, negative thinking loses the very first layer of its power over you. Secret 2. What you feed will always grow. Imagine a small spark. Tiny. Almost invisible. Sitting quietly on the floor in front of you. If you leave it alone, it may go out on its own. The wind may carry it away. Time may extinguish it naturally. But if you lean down and blow on it gently, it grows. If you add a little paper, it catches. If you add wood, it becomes a flame. And if you pour oil on it, it becomes a fire that is very difficult to stop. Negative thoughts work exactly the same way. Every thought that enters your mind needs one thing to survive. Your attention. When a negative thought appears and you immediately start thinking about it, turning it over, analyzing it, worrying about it, talking about it, you're not solving it. You are feeding it. And what you feed always grows. Most people do not realize they are doing this. They think that by thinking harder about a negative thought, they will somehow find a way through it. But negativity is not a math problem. It does not get better the more you calculate it. It gets bigger. The happiest and most peaceful minds in the world have learned one of the most powerful skills a human being can possess. The ability to notice a negative thought without engaging with it. To see it appear, acknowledge it quietly, and then gently turn their attention elsewhere. Not fighting. Not suppressing. Just not feeding. Because what you starve will always weaken. And what you withdraw your attention from will always, eventually, lose its grip on you. Secret 3. You cannot remove a thought. You can only replace it. There is something fascinating about the human mind. It cannot hold emptiness. It was never designed to. When you try to force a negative thought out of your head by telling yourself to stop thinking about it, what happens? The thought comes back stronger, more insistent, more persistent than before. This is not weakness. This is simply how the mind works. It cannot hold a blank space. Nature fills every vacuum. And the mind is no different. This is why the people who successfully end negative thinking never try to remove their thoughts. They replace them. They understand that the only way to push something out of the mind is to put something better in its place. Not a fake thought. Not a forced smile or an empty affirmation repeated without feeling. But a more honest, more complete, more empowering version of the story the negative thought was telling. When the mind says you always fail, the replacement is not you always succeed. That is a lie and the mind knows it. The replacement is you have failed at some things and succeeded at others, and every failure has taught you something that success never could. That is truth. And truth is always more powerful than either the negative lie or the positive pretense. Start small. Choose one negative thought that visits you regularly. Write it down. Then write a more honest and more helpful version of it. Practice returning to that replacement every time the original appears. Over time, the replacement becomes automatic. The new thought becomes the first thought. And the mind that once defaulted to darkness begins to find the light more naturally. Secret 4. Your mind becomes what you consistently give it. There is something the most mentally strong people in the world understand that most people never stop to consider. The mind is not just a thinking machine. It is an absorbing machine. Every single day, without your permission and without your awareness, it is taking in everything around it. Every conversation, every piece of news, every social media post, every toxic exchange, every complaint, every fear-filled headline, and it is using all of that to build its picture of the world. Most people walk through their days completely unaware of how much they are feeding into their own negativity. They wonder why they feel anxious, heavy, and hopeless. And then they spend 3 hours scrolling through everything that is wrong with the world. The connection is not a coincidence. The people who have truly ended negative thinking are deeply intentional about what they allow into their minds. They are not hiding from reality. They are not pretending the world has no darkness. They are simply choosing, consciously and consistently, not to bathe in it. They reduce the noise. They limit the content that drains them. They fill the space with things that educate, inspire, and strengthen. They choose conversations that challenge them to grow. They choose voices that remind them of what is possible. Not because they are naive, but because they understand a truth that most people learn too late. You cannot think your way to a positive mind while consistently pouring negativity into it. The input always shapes the output. Guard what goes in, and watch how powerfully it changes what comes out. Secret 5. Your body knows the way out before your mind does. This is the secret that most people never talk about, and it is one of the most powerful tools you have. When negative thinking takes hold, most people try to think their way out of it. They reason with themselves. They argue with their own thoughts. They try to logic their way back to peace. But the mind that is deep in negativity is not always capable of thinking its way out. Because the very tool you are trying to use to solve the problem is the same tool that is generating the problem. There is another way, and it does not start in your mind. It starts in your body. Notice what happens to your body when negative thinking takes over. Your shoulders pull inward. Your chest tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your head drops. Your body folds into itself as if trying to disappear. Now notice what happens when you change your body first. Stand up. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your chin. Take one long, slow, deep breath. Step outside. Walk. Move. Let your body do what it was built to do. Something shifts. Every time. This is not imagination. This is the deep connection between your physical body and your mental state. Movement releases things inside you that no amount of thinking can produce. It sends signals to your brain that you are still here, still alive, still capable, still in motion. The mind follows the body more often than the body follows the mind. So the next time negative thinking surrounds you like a fog, do not sit still and think harder. Stand up and move first. Let your body lead you back to yourself.
Secret 6. Comparison is the thief of every peace you have ever known. There is a particular kind of suffering that is entirely self-created. And in the world we live in today, it has become an epidemic. It is the suffering of comparison. You look at someone else's life and you measure your own against it. Their success against your struggle. Their highlight against your ordinary Tuesday. Their confidence against your private doubt. And your mind concludes, quietly and painfully, that something must be wrong with you. But here is what comparison never shows you. It never shows you the years of failure behind that person's success. It never shows you their private 3 a.m. moments of doubt and fear. It never shows you what they sacrificed, what they lost, what they carry silently every single day. You are comparing your entire reality to the single most polished version of someone else's life. And that is never a fair or honest comparison. The people who have ended negative thinking have made a quiet but radical decision. They have chosen to stop measuring their life against anyone else's. Not because they have given up on growth, but because they have understood something deeply. Your life is not a competition. It is a journey. And every journey looks different because every destination is different. The only comparison that will ever serve you is the one you make with yourself. Are you more at peace today than you were last month? Are you a little wiser? A little kinder? A little more courageous? That is real progress. That is worth celebrating. Let go of the measuring, and you will find that a quietness returns. A steadiness. A sense that your life, exactly as it is right now, is enough to work with. Secret 7. Gratitude does not wait for good times. It creates them. Most people have a complicated relationship with gratitude. They think of it as something that arrives naturally when life is going well. When things are good, they feel grateful. When things are hard, gratitude feels like a lie. But the people who have truly ended negative thinking understand something that took them a long time to learn. Gratitude is not a feeling that follows good circumstances. It is a practice that creates them. When you train your mind to look for what is good, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your mind starts finding it. Not because the good was not there before, but because you were not looking for it before. You were so focused on what was missing that you could not see what was present. So focused on what went wrong that you could not feel what was still right. Start small. Tonight, before you sleep, find 3 things from your day that you are genuinely grateful for. Small things. The warmth of a cup of tea. A moment of quiet. A smile from a stranger. The simple fact that you made it through another day. Do this every night for 30 days. And watch what happens to your mind. It will not be dramatic. It will be quiet. But you will begin to notice that the negative thoughts have a little less room. Because the grateful thoughts are taking up more space. Gratitude is not about pretending life is perfect. It is about refusing to let what is wrong blind you completely to what is right. And in that refusal, something beautiful grows. Secret 8. You do not have to feel ready to begin. This is perhaps the most honest thing that can be said about ending negative thinking. Most people wait. They wait to feel motivated before they try. They wait to feel strong before they act. They wait for the negative thoughts to quiet down on their own before they attempt to build something better. But that waiting is itself a form of negative thinking, because it is built on the belief that you are not capable right now, that you need to be in a better state before you can begin to create a better state. The people who have truly transformed their minds did not begin because they felt ready. They began because they chose to begin. Even when they were tired. Even when they doubted. Even when the negative voice was the loudest voice in the room. They took one small step. And then another. Not because they knew it would work, but because staying still felt worse than moving. And something happened when they moved. The feeling followed the action. Not before it. After it. You do not need to feel positive to start thinking more positively. You need to start thinking more positively in order to eventually feel positive. The action comes first. The feeling is the reward that comes later. So do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait for the negative thoughts to leave before you begin building something better. Begin now. Even imperfectly. Even uncertainly. Even with the negative thoughts still present.
Because every journey begins not when conditions are perfect, but when a person decides that moving forward matters more than staying safe. And that decision, made quietly and firmly in the privacy of your own mind, is where negative thinking ends, and something far more powerful begins. Negative thinking is not your who you are. It is a habit, built over time, and it can be rebuilt. You now know the 8 secrets that the people who have ended negative thinking forever all have in common. They understood where their thoughts came from. They stopped feeding the ones that did not serve them. They replaced darkness with something more honest and more true. They guarded carefully what they allowed into their minds. They used their bodies to lead their minds back to peace. They stopped measuring their life against anyone else's. They practiced gratitude not as a feeling but as a discipline. And they began before they felt ready. These are not complicated ideas, but they require something that is rarer than intelligence or talent. They require a daily decision. To return to yourself. To choose your peace. To refuse to let the noise inside your head become the story of your life. You are capable of that decision. You always were. Start today. One secret at a time. One day at a time. One thought at a time. Because the mind that once felt like your enemy can become your greatest ally. And that transformation begins the moment you decide it does.